grab your cup. This conversation is about one of several important components that will determine whether your relationships feel really good, well connected, you're expanding together, you can resolve conflicts well, or whether relationships in your life have typically gone, you grow further and further apart, you don't really connect, you carry a lot of resentment, it feels really hard to make it work. And that can apply to a relationship that's, you've had one relationship for decades, but the same kinds of patterns, how your conflicts go and how close you feel with that same person. Or it can apply to patterns and cycles that you see in your life with maybe several people. Why do these same patterns keep showing up? So there's more than just this conversation. There's a few really important pieces, but for today, let's just look at this one. And that is when we carry wounds from our past into our present adult relationships, and we're looking for that relationship to heal the wound, or we're not even aware that we have the wound. That can be happening too. But the wounds that we have had in our lives, it's up to us, it's up to myself to heal my own wounds, not carry an unhealed wound into a relationship and then expect the other person to do the job of healing it for me. And that happens all the time, especially if you're not aware that you have the wound. So let me give you some examples of what I mean. When we're very young, things happen, and that will cause us to see ourselves in a particular way. So it doesn't even have to be really big things, but it's significant enough at the age that we're at that it has an impact. So for example, in my life, I'm going to share with you some of my own wounds from my own experiences. My mother died when I was 4 years old, and she died because she was sick. She had multiple sclerosis. So during those first 4 years of my life, in our household, it was very focused on her care and her being sick, and my father juggling, taking care of 2 little kids. I was the younger of 2 kids, and working and having a wife who needed around-the-clock care. So I have a few memories of wanting something as a 3-year-old, and I couldn't have it at that time. I couldn't have the attention that I wanted from my parents, from my dad. He was taking care of my mom. And because of that experience, I decided I don't matter. I'm not important. When I looked around at the house and what was going on, I'm not important. That was a decision that I made about myself. That decision led to a wound of, I'll be rejected. So carrying that wound of fear of rejection, really a fear of rejection, carried into my adult relationships. And when I look back now, over the course of my adulthood, that was always present. So I always had a fear of being rejected. And then until I understood that that was my fear and my job to handle and take care of, I was always looking for and judging whether the other person was actually making me feel rejected, which, by the way, no one makes us feel anything. We're in charge of how we feel. But for me, I looked at, see, there's another example of I'm being rejected. And that comes and threads its way through relationships until you recognize it. So the patterns and the cycles that we have, and that's one example. There's many, many. The wounds could be, I'll be rejected, I'll be betrayed, I'll be abandoned. Those are all of the wounds, not all of them, but those are several of the wounds that are really common for people to have. And they come from those experiences where we decide I'm not important, or I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, or anything like that. So when we look at relationships, we need to look at, as I said, this is one critical piece. There are a couple of others, but we need to look at what are the core wounds we're bringing in. So especially if you've had relationships that have failed, if you've had marriages that ended in divorce, What were you looking for from that other person? How did those kinds of subconscious thoughts show up regularly, if you're honest with yourself? And if you're committed to not having that go forward in the future, you want to really take a look at it, because the wounds just don't go away. And they don't get healed by other people. They can only be healed by yourself. So actually tonight, this is July 25th, tonight is a workshop on relationships where I'll talk more about this and some other really significant pieces that will determine whether your relationships really flourish and grow and feel good, or whether they are constantly feeling like a struggle and hard work and a source of pain for you in your life. So we'll be talking about some other things as well as this, and dismantling that and getting some tools around how to shift that. So if relationship patterns are something that you are interested in, drop me a comment, workshop, I'll make sure you get the link. Whether you can be there live or not, you need to register so I can send you the email replay afterwards if you're not there. But everybody who registers will get the replay whether they're there or not, okay? So just put workshop in the comments if relationships and the patterns and what you have experienced so far in your life is something that you'd like to get deeper insight on and perhaps really shift. And I'll see you there.